The man who's sitting in front of me, his name is Sun Yi, and you probably have seen some of his posts on social. Chances are you love him or you were triggered by him, or maybe you're both. Sun and I met in person recently at South by Southwest in Austin. He's a globetrotter. He's been zipping around all over the world at Atomicon, and then he was just at Con, and then he came back here for VidCon. So he may be running on fumes, so we'll get the most out of the situation. But Sun, thanks for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, so here's the first thing. I just want to throw it off, just kind of break the ice a little bit. I noticed there's a distinct difference between what I perceive your online personality as and the person that I met in real life. And I'll describe this and tell me if it's a fair characterization. On the internet, you give a lot of hot takes. You'll go on rants and you say, stop doing this. And you use semi-violent language, I think on purpose. And I can tell you know how to write because you use words very effectively to get people to have a feeling or sharpen their thing. And I think for a while now, you've been using the whole, I never thought of it like that, right? So there's a couple things there. But when I meet you in person, you're like the sweetest, softest, like, hey, how's it going? Is everything cool? No rants and very humble and kind and generous. And first, is that an accurate portrayal of the two sons?
I mean, I don't know if it's two different sons, but
okay.
Most of the videos that I post are from either Zoom calls where I'm teaching or like I'm on a podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm talking to somebody, you know, like sometimes I can get a little heated or like I could get a little passionate, or especially if I'm teaching or something like that. And those like usually happens to be like the best parts,
right?
Like most interesting parts. So, but I don't think all my videos are like that. I think the ones that get a lot of views happen to be like that. So they probably get on your radar more.
Yeah.
But I have like most of my videos are not, you know, not that bad.
Well, it's not that it's good or bad. I'm not here to judge, but I'm just trying to figure out. And maybe I'm asking more for me understanding how people perceive me as well. Because depending on which moment and what circumstance you catch somebody in, you form an opinion about that person really fast. And that's both the good and the bad of social. So if the algorithm is serving up this hot take that you have where you're coming from a place of high emotion, peak emotional energy, then they're like, oh, that's Sun, that must be him. And they're not checking in all the time to see like, what is the range? Plus, somebody will say he's a lovely human or he's a jerk, he's a D-bag. And then everything else they see in their mind now supports that narrative, whether it's true or not. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of your online persona and kind of the, maybe before I do that, I want to get into your background, like what you do for a living kind of thing before you start making all this content.
Got it. So I started as a web designer. I transitioned from freelancing to starting my agency, which is called Night Owls. Well, we used to work at corporate brands. So we had some clients like American Red Cross, pretty much most of the hospitals in New York, NYU Langone, Columbia University Medical Center. We work with Spotify, like pretty much corporate brands, but now we mostly work with personal brands. So people who are like authors, motivational speakers, that want to build their personal brands. We help them with their website, messaging, their stories, and things like that.
How does a freelance designer get from starting from not a lot to being able to work with large multi-billion-dollar companies? How does that work?
I think for us, at least, once we got one big client, it became super easy to get the next client. So like, I always tell people, like, no matter what it takes, get that one client. Because once I say, we work with American Red Cross, pretty much all the hospitals just came after that. And they didn't even really question us after that,
Yeah. Okay. So it was the American Red Cross.
That was like the one big one.
I want to peel away for our audience here, whether you're listening to this or watching this, is we'll call that the prison yard rule. They say if you go to prison, and I hope you never do anything to get yourself into a situation where you're in the prison, but they say you go after the biggest, toughest person because then you set the tone. And we can understand the logic behind that because otherwise you're going to be somebody's girlfriend in the prison cell, right? You are. Sorry. We're going to just go there. But if you go on and take on the biggest client in that sector or that vertical, pretty much that's the best social proof you're going to get. And then by virtue of how we work and how we're hardwired as human beings, we lean really heavily on social proof. Well, if Sun was good enough for American Red Cross, he must be more than good enough. Maybe you're even overqualified to work with us, right? So can you take me through the process that, as far as you can tell, how you got American Red Cross from your previous next biggest thing?
I guess so I'll kind of go over the whole story from the
Okay.
beginning. This is how our agency worked. So when I was freelancing, actually the first project that I did, let me go back a little bit further. So my mom always tells me,
Wait, hold on. I thought you were gonna go. So it's a cold winter night in Korea somewhere. My mom and my father. Like, how far back did we go? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, keep doing your thing.
so
Mom.
like my mom always told me like, son, don't start a business because you're gonna lose money and you're just not cut out to be a businessman. And it's because when I was young, my dad paid us, me and my sister, $5 to wash the car. And I ended up, my sister, after like 20 minutes, she was done. She was out of there. But I spent another 2 hours just like cleaning every detail, like with the little Q-tip.
Right.
And I spent the $5 my dad gave me, plus I added my own $5 to go buy some air freshener and things for the car. And then like things like that, right? So my mom was like, oh, son, you're like just not, if you start a business, you're just going to lose money, right? And that has been the pattern for me throughout. And, when I started freelancing, my first client paid me $1,700. And this website took me 9 months to build, like full time. So I quit my $100,000 a year job. Now I got paid $1,700 for 9 months.
1700.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, just making sure.
So I mean, at first I thought it was gonna take like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but it just like, but I wanted to make it perfect. And then from there, then my next project was like $3,000. And it only took me 3 months. So it's still bad, but
hey, that's a lot of progress though. Almost double the money,
yeah.
1/3 of the time.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And around there, so I made $5,000 in a year. So I was about to, like, I ran out of my savings and I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a job. But then we got a call.
Are you still single at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
At this time I was single.
Guys, okay. Keep on.
So at this time, I got one email from this client who was like, we'll pay you $10,000 to do a website. This was a WordPress website that I could have finished it in like 4 weeks. And I actually did finish it in 4 weeks. And then it just kept going up from there.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of these like smaller local like companies in New York. So not like big companies. But American Red Cross was like, actually, that one actually came as an inquiry, inbound lead. And at that time we had this like rock star salesperson who was just so good at selling. So he kind of cultivated that relationship.
Okay.
But I realized that to work with bigger clients, it's actually like mostly about the relationship and it's less about like, I guess, the work or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a huge lesson that I learned actually working from him.
Okay. I got lots of questions, man. First of all, let's put this on dates and timeline. So how old are you at this point when you've got this rock star salesperson?
That was probably, so I started, so the first year was me just freelancing. The second year was also just me freelancing. And then I went back, so I guess around then I was about 25.
Okay.
26.
Yeah.
And then I went.
What year is this?
This was 2006.
Okay.
Around there.
All right. Now we know how old you are. Keep on.
So I did that for like a couple years. And then I had a friend who actually was running an agency. And he asked me to kind of come and partner with him.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of paused my freelancing business, took all my clients from the freelancing business and like brought it to this agency. And
okay.
This is an agency called Webio. And it was like a small agency in New York that I wanted to help build, right? Long story short, that I was there for 2 years. It didn't really work out because like he and I just didn't align at all in terms of the vision.
I can tell. I already knew it didn't work out, but I didn't want to let my instincts lead the conversation because of the way you said it. Because I don't know, I pride myself on being able to see small micro expressions and the way you said it. And I'll just give our audience a clue here. So if you're listening to pod, make sure you check out the YouTube channel as well so you can see this. When the son said this small agency. He said it like it was like disgusting in his mouth. Did you guys feel that, or was it just me? You saw that, right? I'm like, he didn't like them at all. So I already know how it turns out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it was this really small agency.
Yeah.
So we can tell. Okay, so it didn't work out.
That's
Personality
true,
conflict.
'cause our agency is small too. Like with this agency, it wasn't really about the agency. It was about the guy. Like we just didn't work out.
Okay.
So 2 years later, I actually left to start my agency, Night Owl. And
What year is that?
this was 2010.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone's got to hold him accountable. Thank you. 2010.
So at that time, so Gigi is my wife and my business partner. It was two of us. And
So somewhere while struggling to build a business, making $5,000 a year, and then struggling to work out a relationship with another business owner that didn't work, you found time to find romance and get married.
yeah, we didn't get married. At this time, we weren't married.
Okay.
And actually, like, when we started Night Owl, we were struggling so hard for 2 years, to a point where we were homeless, basically, because we had to rent out our apartment on Airbnb. Okay. So that we can use that money.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Pay for like our office.
You're subsidizing your
exactly,
bad business with renting out your space.
And then we were like sleeping in the office in the air mattress.
Okay.
For like 6 months.
I see.
And that's the moment I knew, like, okay, she's the one, because I'm like,
okay,
nobody else would have.
Wait, I don't care about marketing or business or personas. I'm going to talk about the relationship right now. The conversation is going to take a hard turn. It's going to jump to tracks. If you guys don't like this part, hit fast forward and skip to this next part. Okay. But you're like, she's the one, but I'm curious from what you think her perspective, because we can't hear her right now. Mm-hmm. Why were you the one for her? Because it's like, okay, here's the guy. He's going to be homeless. He made $5,000 a year. His last business relationship didn't work out. What did she see in you from your perspective? We'll confirm later if it's true or not.
I have no idea.
Come on, you have to have some. Make up that story.
I mean, she must have seen something in me.
What do you think it was? I mean, it's also, are you Korean too? You're Chinese? You're Korean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard for Asian women to bring home a man who's like broke. It is very difficult. You don't understand how much heat she's going to have to take. And when she's like, I'm dating this guy, he's got ambition, just watch him. He's going to make a Benz out of that Datsun kind of situation. That doesn't usually, that's not a rhyme that's repeated in Asian communities. It's like, oh, he's not a doctor or a lawyer. He's not living with this whole plan and everything's worked out.
Yeah.
So just give us your best guess and we'll find out.
Kind of what she saw for me, that she actually liked that I'm not like just a standard, just 9 to 5. Like the fact that I wanted more than that is, I think, what she liked me. But you're absolutely right, because at that time we actually borrowed money from her family.
Oh, that's the best.
So
she was the keeper. Yeah. You were absolutely right.
So she was, but I was like so ashamed because like.
Okay, I'm giving you a hard time, sort of. But I was the same way. I'm going to confess right now. The way we were able to buy our first house in Venice is because my wife's girlfriend's mom at that time, we're unmarried too. She sent us basically the down payment 20% for this house. And then I called my mom. I was like, Mom, can you help us out? My mom gave us 1/5 of what her mom gave. I'm like, God, we broke. How is it? So that's a different story. And then I asked her years later after we got married, why would you ask your mom to give us $100,000 to a guy who you're not married to? Do you even understand what's going on? She goes, no, because I trust you. I'm like, how would you never trust another guy after me? Because that's not the answer. You have to be way more critical than that. But here we are. She's trusting you, loaning you money, and she's watching that ambition, ambition in your eyes.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it got it worked out, but it could have also
for sure. You could have really come back, or you could have just been a really bad business person, as foretold by your mom.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, she actually turned out to be the good business person. Yeah. So it worked out well, because actually, once she came into the business, that's the moment we actually started making money. Because in the beginning days,
like Gigi, you have a sister. You have a sister. I mean, you got a whole dynasty here. What do we do? There's more Chinese women out there, you guys.
Yeah.
And I have to say, on behalf of my Taiwanese wife, who's ethically, I guess, Chinese, you got to find a good one.
Yeah.
The one that believes in you, who supports your work and can see that. And I say behind every good man is an even greater woman, because the single most important decision you're going to make in your life is who you're going to partner up with. whether it's man or woman, it doesn't really matter because you have to want the same thing, and not just for a little bit because we all know it's not that easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So actually, to that point, in the beginning, what happened was I was like that, like what my mom said.
Yeah.
So when if clients don't pay, like I wouldn't like chase them
Right.
down, right? Or if we go over scope, I wouldn't like invoice them for the extra
Yeah.
work, and I wouldn't like rate like we had our rate at 150 an hour for the longest time,
Woo.
and we didn't raise our rate for the long time, and that's when we were struggling. We were like we owed money to our family, and we were like in the minus, but I was so busy. I was just focused on working on the projects, which is kind of like I guess my talent is in doing the work. And she just took over the business side, and I just didn't even pay attention for like a few months.
Yeah.
And not because I didn't want to, but I just didn't have the time.
Right.
And then 6 months later, I look at the bank account and there's like $200,000 in there. I'm like, what happened?
Damn.
And
Yeah.
so it turned out like she raised the price.
Gigi happened. That's what happened. It's pretty clear.
Actually, when she raised the price, I'm like,
Yeah.
why did you do that? Like now, like our clients are going to get mad at us because like, but then she's like, actually, no, I raised it 3 months ago. They've been paying. They're happy with it.
They're cool. You're like,
Yeah,
to the party.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she's the type of person that will like chase down the client,
Of course.
get paid. So once that side was kind of fixed, like that's when we really started making money, because I think the work that I was doing was good.
Yeah.
But money was leaking. so that balanced out really well. Even now, you know, if I'm doing a workshop or if I'm on a coaching call or something like that, and I go over the hour, like she'll like she'll remind me, and you know, so I think that's the balance really worked out where we have the total opposite personality.
Yeah. When you said she's the type of person, what you mean to say she's a responsible business owner?
Yeah,
That's what you mean.
yeah,
That type of person.
like the one that my mom would like.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to tell you that your relationship is, I think, pretty typical of business relationships that actually do work. Well, I don't want to talk about the ones that don't work, where there's a person and you have a strength and the other person has a complementary but equal and opposite strength. And so you make beautiful music together. So if you're both creative, like maybe your previous partner, where you guys just jam and you have two different visions and you're battling over vision, where this is, I believe, the divide and conquer strategy, where you can focus on being the best you, which is a creative person who over delivers and doesn't really care about money, but is about the relationship, which is necessary for front of house. She's back of the house, making sure tickets are moving, customers are happy, and invoices are being paid, and you're getting good prices on the produce or whatever it is that you're buying. And without that then your brain wouldn't be free to think about what you do, and it would be dragged into paperwork and negative feelings. And that's not people don't understand this. As much as we say we're going to be professional creative people, we're humans and we have emotional side. So when you're like, oh, that client's not paying me, and you bring that hostility and the bitterness into the work, then the work sucks and they're not happy and you don't get referrals, and we know how that goes. So it's better that you are able to compartmentalize and say front of the house, back of the house, and you guys made it work. So congratulations to both of you.
We call it good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
So like
we love you. They don't like her as much. Yeah.
So once it gets to the part where the client does get annoyed, then I'll jump in and I'll kind of like,
you're like massage them.
Yeah, I'll make them happy or something like that.
Now let me ask you this question: have you ever worked with a business coach?
No, you asked me that question last time.
Yes, and I don't remember. That's how good my memory is. No. Okay, because, and I want to say that on behalf of Gigi, who's just off camera here, is I had to realize this through my business coach, and he said, and he helped me understand this. I want you to understand what your wife has to do, and that she has to do all the ugly work, the work that you may not want to do or not capable of doing, and it's not the fun work. She's the one who makes this work, and she gets none of the glory and all of the blame. And it's a tough situation to be in. It doesn't matter if the husband or the wife is doing that, or whatever relationship is, your partner. We have to understand that, acknowledge that they don't have a lot of power to control what's happening, but they're left with the responsibility. And that's a heavy burden to carry. So he's like, to me, and I'll say this, I guess, to share this wisdom with you, is take good care of that person.
Yeah.
Honey, I love you.
I didn't have a business coach, but I did have a moment where I had that realization.
Yeah.
And it's actually when I saw the bank account and it went from like red to black.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that she's literally the only person that could have. I have a huge ego, and I'm pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
And I see this with other creatives too, like because a lot of people will tell me like, "Son, I need somebody like Gigi. I need somebody who can take care of the finance and things like that." And I'm usually like, "You already have somebody like that in your life. You just don't listen to them." And because that's kind of what happened to me. I didn't listen to her, and I would be like, "No, you can't raise that price."
Right.
Like the clients, no,
Right.
if you do that, the client's gonna go away.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So I didn't. Knew that was her strength, but I didn't like let her use her superpower. Right. So that was like actually the game changing moment where I actually, even though I didn't agree 100% with her,
Yeah.
I had to let her do her thing, and so we don't agree. We don't see eye to eye on everything. Like we actually disagree on a lot of things. But I think that balance is good. Like if I had it my way every time, it wouldn't work. And I think if she had it her way every time, it wouldn't work. So there's a lot of times when I'm like, I don't fully agree with that, but I'm gonna let you do that because this is how it has worked out for years for us, you know.
And does she say the same thing back to you? I don't fully agree with that, but I'm gonna let you do that.
Yeah, she's much better at than me at that. so and that's where like what your business coach said, like I think resonates with me deeply. I was like, there's nobody who's gonna put up with me the way she has, because every time I do something crazy that doesn't make sense or something like that, she not only like she would kind of fight back a little bit,
Right.
but ultimately she'll let me do it.
Yeah.
And not only that, she would support me fully.
Yeah.
And even if that repeatedly fails, she still will the next time. And I think like you can only do that with somebody you love. Like I don't think you can do that with just an employee or something like that. And that repetition kind of made me go like, oh my gosh. Like the reason why she was the best person for me is because I'm so stubborn that nobody can tell me that I'm doing something wrong. And maybe that's why business coach might not really work for me, because I'm going to be like, oh, you're not done. Yeah. But because she was so supportive, like she pretty much put a mirror in front of my face. And like, I let you do it your way all the time. and it fails all the time. And I don't say anything about it. And at some point I start to see it for myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
okay,
I'm such a loser. And that's kind of like what makes me, I guess, you know, say, okay, maybe I need to change.
Yeah.
You know, like,
what is the craziest idea you've had that has not worked out? Because you have all these crazy ideas and they don't always work out.
It has a lot to do with like hiring people.
Yeah.
That we don't need.
Okay. Like then, give me one like very concrete example so we know that
like we hire
gravity of your mind.
Yeah, we hire like 3 video editors.
Oh yeah, you don't need that.
And I'm like, we ended up like getting rid of 2.
Yeah.
The first in our agency, we had a guy that I liked him so much I couldn't fire him for years.
Yeah.
For years. And she's just like, I'll do it. It's like, if you don't want to fire him, I'll do it, right? Like she has no problem with confrontation. Things like that.
Okay. But, and so who fired him?
I fired him at the end. But
and did you argue back like if someone's gonna do it, it's gotta be me?
No, I think it's gotten to a point. At first, yes, I think that's why we kept him for a year. So every year, like, you know, we have like a 6-figure expense going on without like getting anything from it. And at some point, because she would just let me do it, even though that's such a crazy thing, she would put up with it.
Yeah.
I started to see how crazy I am. But if somebody sat there and like argue with me, I think I would have just fought back. And, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. She figured out a way to handle you and your stubbornness and your ego so that you would arrive at the conclusion in due time. But it takes a while, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. This actually turned into a Gigi Appreciation podcast. So welcome to that pod and happy Mother's Day to everybody. I know it's not Mother's Day, but I just want to let everybody know it's not always the person that you see. There's always people behind the scenes in the back of the house operations that are underappreciated, that aren't acknowledged. And so I just want to use the opportunity to talk about that because I do know both of you. although not deeply, it's great to have this kind of conversation. In all honesty and transparency, I've had many of these kind of moments myself with my wife, and that's why I recognize the patterns immediately. Yes, I've just sought a different direction than the one you have. So, so let's get back into your story here. A couple years in, you were able to afford a Cracker Jack salesperson who then pursues this client and is on it, building relationships, and then eventually gets you the opportunity.
Yeah.
I assume you had to bid on it.
Yeah.
And then you won that bid.
Yeah.
And then you did the work, and then that became the thing that changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once we had that,
Yeah.
like after that, this guy would keep, going to reach out to these pharmaceutical hospitals. And at that time, like we were mainly going after like medtech, pharmaceutical, because that's kind of like one of the most profitable projects.
Yeah.
So he would set up meetings and, like pitches with them. And then, as soon as we say, we work with American Red Cross, like you can literally in the meeting, you can see their face change. They're like, oh, So yeah, I knew that was like a huge part of why. Before that, a lot of clients I feel like felt like they don't want to be the guinea pig. They don't want to be the first one to take a chance. Like once I think they see that we work with a big client, they're like, okay, they're good.
So what's ever become of this Cracker Jack salesperson of yours?
He's not with us anymore, but so we had a developer in our company for a long time. I mean, he's been with us for like 6-7 years. He left to start his own kind of development agency, and this guy now works with him.
Okay.
I mean, not like directly after, but we're still all friends. Yeah.
Like you will arrive at the party together and like, no. Okay. So you're all still good.
Yeah.
And I like that about the relationship, because this is another lesson for entrepreneurs is relationships are about mutual benefit and convenience. And if it's not beneficial or convenient for either of you, you should both have the freedom to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Often, a lot of times entrepreneurs, what they do is they always feel like everybody is they're owed some kind of dying loyalty, and you're not supposed to pursue anything. You can't look at anything, but they can fire you whenever they want. So it's some kind of weird double standard. So my whole feeling is, if it's good for me, it's good for you. We should continue to work together. And if you ever have a better opportunity, I want you to pursue that, because I never want to be the reason that you wind up not liking your life and your career. So pursue it. If you make good decisions, fantastic. If it doesn't work, call me. Maybe there's still opportunity here. I don't know. And I've always had these difficult conversations with people when they come into my office, and I can tell they're all choked up and I don't know how to say this. Like, I already know what you're going to say. Just spit it out, put it on the table. I'm going to give you a hug and congratulate you. And then they start crying. And I wish the very best for you. And whenever you're through this emotionally, even though they just quit on me, I'm like, let's have lunch. I'm good. And that's how we should aspire to run companies and inspire people to do that, because otherwise it's some kind of weird one-sided loyalty lifetime sentence. And it feels really awkward to me.
Were you always like that? Because for me, like I did learn that skill over time.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it felt like somebody's breaking up. Like it felt like a betrayal or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was more of an emotional thing. But after a while, like, if it happens a lot, you get used to it. So you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm probably less heart-centered than you. I'm less emotional in that way.
Yeah.
So I understand. I try to practice this, a word I learned later, some form of stoicism. Things are what they are. It's all the stories that we tell ourselves that change the objective thing. The objective thing is, you have a good opportunity. If I cared about you, and I do, why would I prevent you from doing that? Mm-hmm. And if I had a good opportunity and you're no longer a good fit, I have to tell you there's a better opportunity for me, and hopefully you don't hold that feeling. I don't want them to get bitter if I have to let them go, and so I can't be bitter either. I try and practice that symmetry of logic,
Yeah, I definitely have like a little bit of emotion when it comes to that. Like I try to be more stoic, but because it happened not just in my agency, but once I started like my community and things like that, and I see that people that I'm coaching or like in the community leave and they go to like somebody else, and I'm like, ugh. But like after a while, I'm just like, yeah, good for them.
Yeah. So I think probably what makes you a better artist than myself is because good art comes from strong emotions. That sense of vulnerability and being in touch with that makes you a better artist, I think. So for me, I try to practice some form of passionate detachment where I'm very passionate about doing the work, but as soon as the work is done, I'm completely detached from the outcome and I can see things objectively. So when a client's like, that sucks, I'm like, I guess it does suck. What are we going to do about it? What do you see? What do you need to change? This is how I try and help my friends, like the people around us right now, when they're dealing with a tough, they say tough, but tough client situation where somebody's not happy. And like, what do we do? I'm like, it's just work, man. This is what you're paid to do. You show up and you do the work, and no matter what you feel, that's not about this, because we don't get paid for our feelings. We get paid to do the work. And if they're upset, first ask yourself, what did I do to contribute to this, and work through that. And if you don't want to work with them again, don't work with them, but always be professional and do the best that you can to serve the clients that you have. Seems like that's a part of your winning formula. You care, you over deliver, and you want it to work well, right? Despite your own financial misfortune.
Yeah. I am emotional. I don't know if I would call myself an artist or create. Like my dad used to always say, son, like you're just not creative. And it's because, even though I'm a designer, it's because like when I was young, I would draw these like things, but I would look at photos and I can like make it look identical, but it was never like my own work. You know what I mean? Like it was always a copy of something. And when I started making websites, it was the same thing. I would literally like take a screenshot of somebody's design. I would pixel by pixel like copy it, and then I'll try to change it a little bit, and then I just figure it out. I learned how to design like that.
Yeah.
And after a while, like I started, I think because growing up, I was always good in math and science more than like, when I ask artists like musicians or writers or whatever, how did you come up with that idea? They're usually always like, oh, it just came out of me. I don't know. It just came out of me. Right.
Yeah.
And I also see this like when I go to these events where people are like, just move and dance. And I can never do that. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Or like when they say just write like on a paper, I'm like, no, I can't just write. I need like structure, and I need somebody to tell me what to write. And even storytelling, like the way I did storytelling was also like that, like design. Once I started copying designs, at some point I started realizing like, okay, if I use this kind of color with this color, it has this kind of feeling. If I make the font like this small versus like if I have this proportion in fonts, this proportion in. So it was like I kind of reverse engineered like certain patterns, and that's how I learned design. And I think storytelling is the same thing. I started noticing that like, okay, like every story has this, and then all the stories that I put out that does well has to happen these patterns, and I just reverse engineer everything. And so I never consider myself like a creative person, because I attack every problem like it's like a science problem.
Okay. Lots of things for us to unpack here. I'm just do a quick time check. Okay. You are not helping the Asian stereotype right now. You're like, I'm good at math and science, bro. I'm not an artist or a designer. Don't call me that kind of thing. And then two supportive parents, like, you're not good at business and you're not an artist. Like, is there love in this family? I mean, how do Asian parents raise children that wind up to be semi-okay? How does this even work?
I mean, I think my parents are pretty loving, but they're
not so far.
They're Asian, so...
Wait, you got to unpack that for the non-Asians that are listening. What does it even mean?
I mean, I think Asian parents are a little more strict. Maybe they set a pretty high standard. Like my sister went to Juilliard, for example.
Okay.
So my parents are not the typical Asian in the sense that like you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. They weren't like that, but they did expect like excellence, right? And yeah, I don't know.
Let's try this, son.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk to you about storytelling.
Therapy? Yeah.
No. The whole thing has been therapy, by the way. Let's try this. We're going to talk about storytelling. You have a gift for it. But why don't you tell us a story about what it means to grow up in an Asian household with Korean American parents in New York? Tell us a moment.
Yeah, I grew up.
You know you're Asian when
in New York.
This happens. Fill in the rest of that for me. Stereotypical, what you see, because okay, I'll tell a very short story to kind of give you time to think about this. Okay, I remember in our house it was very clear: A's are what the standard is, B's are tolerable, C's are you're dead. I never knew what that was because we could never even know what that grade was. And I remember one time, I think his name was David. David Clay would tell me, and I'm pretty young here. He's like, "Yeah, man, I just got my report card and I got like a C average." I'm like, "Oh my God, you must have got a whooping." He goes, "No, I got a new BMX bike." I was like, "So you know you're Asian when your white Caucasian friends are rewarded with the dream bicycle that you would have to get straight A's for multiple years in a row to even be considered for." So that's a story.
Yeah. You know what? I don't have a story like that because my parents weren't like that.
Okay.
So yeah, they didn't really like expect high grades from me or my sister or anything like that. They just, yes,
So what's the strict part? You said they're very strict.
yeah, like they won't let me go out like partying or like,
Okay.
so
That's not even a part of the conversation, man. Asian parents who let their kids go out party, forget about that. You can get all give me something a little harder than let you party.
I mean, like not just party, but like they wouldn't even let me go out and like go to the park with my friends.
Okay.
Like,
Why?
they wanted me to like, I guess, stay home and,
Do what? Not make art and not make money?
Yeah. I mean, they don't want me to like, I guess for my parents, they don't want me to like hang out with the wrong crowd.
Right.
I kind of like hung out with some bad kids
Oh,
when I was in high school. Yeah.
Okay.
So every time I go out, they thought I was going to do so. I'll get into trouble. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to rewind the tape here in my mind. I use my language to describe your world, but now I understand your world a little bit better. I think your parents aren't bad parents. I think your parents they just understand their child really well.
Yeah.
Your mom saying you suck at business. It's like, because you kind of suck at business.
Yeah.
It's just an objective thing that she's saying. From the first time I heard it, it's like super judgy, like back off. You don't know that. And then your dad saying you're not an artist, and son, you're not an artist. Like, what? Don't clamor on the boy's dream. And you know what? Don't go hang out with friends because your friends are garbage. And it turns out your friends are not a good influence on you. So they seem to know a lot about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is just really thoughtful, caring parents who understand the nature of their child, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now
They're not bad parents.
they're not bad parents. Wow, this is
I was
different.
I needed a little bit of discipline in my
Okay.
life. So I think, yeah. And in Korea, it's not like here in Korea, like they're very straightforward with their, like, if you're like, my parents will tell me if I'm gaining a little weight,
They're
like,
gonna call
they'll be
you
like,
fat.
yeah,
I'll just say it right away.
they're like, maybe you should cut down on
Yeah.
the sugar a little bit, like they're just straight up. So, and I think that's kind of like our culture
Okay.
in Korea. Yeah.
So you grew up in Korea?
I grew up till I was 11 in Korea.
Okay.
And then, but I mean, even here, if you grew up in Torrance, California, which is where I grew up,
Yeah.
that's, it's a lot of Korean influence.
Okay. So it still feels like Korea.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Let's go to storytelling. You were at Atomicon
hmm
as a speaker, and you were at Cannes speaking. You're here at VidCon speaking. What are you talking about?
Yeah, mostly storytelling.
Okay.
How, sometimes personal branding, but mostly storytelling. How you should tell stories of brand. There's two types of storytelling that I teach. So one is kind of to tell your personal stories, and the second is how to tell a story that makes people say, "I never thought of it that way." So those are kind of two different.
Let's go with the second of the two.
Okay.
Let's go with how do you tell a story where people come to the conclusion, never thought of it that way? It's a reframe. It's making the familiar unfamiliar, the unfamiliar familiar.
Yeah.
How do you teach people to do that?
So I've been having a lot of trouble getting to teach people to do that. So I've been reverse engineering and breaking a lot of that down. There's a few different things. One of them is there are two contradicting truths that everybody believes in. And if you can point them out and show example of how they're contradicting, then usually that'll get people to say, "I never thought of it that way." For example, a lot of freelancers will say, "I can't charge that much. Like, there's so many designers who do what I do." Right? On the other hand, they also say, if I'll tell them like, "Oh, you should outsource that." I'm like, "No, I can't outsource this because nobody can do it like the way I do it." So those are two contradicting kind of statements.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of those things I started to realize, the way that's related to actually storytelling is I started to realize this in my own experience, because when I was like freelancing,
It's all right.
when I was freelancing, I was like, oh, I can't charge that much. I can't raise my prices, something like that. But when, as an agency owner, when I started hiring people, I'm like, oh my gosh, why can't I find like talent? If somebody walked in that was like, they can do what I do, I would just pay them this much, right?
Right.
So that's when I started seeing like, oh, I wonder if my clients feel that way too. Because they're shopping around, obviously, in the same marketplace that I'm shopping around. So that's kind of when I started like raising prices.
Okay.
So usually, like, I think we all hold these like two contradicting truths,
Yeah.
and we don't know that we are until you point it out to them.
Okay.
And then once you point it out to them, usually they'll go, "Oh, I never
Okay.
thought of it that way." Yeah.
Okay, let's focus on that for a second. So you're talking about logical fallacies,
Yeah.
and it's because we're looking at the problem in one direction, we don't look at both sides. So hence the symmetry of logic.
Yeah.
If you think this, then the equal and opposite must be untrue. And when you find out the equal and opposite is still true, one of these is true and the other one is false. So that's what we're talking about, right? So if you say, like in your example there about pricing, like everybody does what I do, but I can't find anybody who does what I do. One of those can be true because there are opposing ideas, and you help people understand that. I understand it from a coaching point of view, but now how to turn that into a story.
So that's the second part. I don't call that I don't call that a story. Everybody else calls it a story, so I just say story. I call that in my book. I call it myth truth sandwich.
Myth truth sandwich.
Yeah, because I basically it's like a myth and truth with the contradicting example sandwich in between. So I don't call that so this is the thing, right? When I started putting out those carousels on Instagram where basically I'm showing two different contradictions,
Yeah.
or breaking myths or something like, there's actually that the example I gave is just one of the examples.
Yes.
There are other ways you can do this. But when I started doing that, people will like DM me or comment and say, "Son, can you teach me how to tell stories? You're such a great storyteller." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm not telling any stories."
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then like Domestica even came to me and said, "Can you create a storytelling course for us?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I did all of that. I personally don't think it's a storytelling, but that's what everybody else seemed to call it. So therefore, I just call it storyteller. But usually it's just an example. It's not like I just give them an example of a situation. It's kind of like when a stand-up comedian tells a joke. It's like, you ever notice how people in the subway do this, right? So it's not a story, but it's like example of a scenario or something that people will get.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I do it, most of them, you know?
Okay. Well, not to split words with you, but when a comedian does a joke, that is a story. The good comedians, the best comedians, the ones that are most loved today are storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
They're highlighting, and we can get into that later. The old jokes is like set up punchline. They're not so much stories. They're more misdirections.
Yeah.
And then when we
exactly.
see the misdirection, we laugh or we don't,
Yeah.
right? But in your case, I might not call it storytelling either. It's kind of fascinating how people see things and then they call it the closest thing that they understand. I think what you're really doing is teaching people how to write their thoughts. So it's more of a critical thinking writing course and writing for social media.
Yeah.
So it's a like, but maybe copywriting for social isn't sexy to people. So we'll call that story, right? Maybe that's what that is, because you have a sharp intellect and ways of simplifying complicated ideas down into very polarizing statements. And you're asking each person that reads your content, in my opinion, only one of these two things can be true, and you have to pick. So in a way,
actually, that's just one part. There are other cases where you have a truth and then you have an opposite truth, and then the real truth is somewhere in between.
Okay.
Like, for example, somebody might say, it's all about quantity, right? And then somebody might say it's all about quality, right? But the truth is like on some level it's about quantity, because you have Jiro from Jiro Dream of Sushi. Like, yes, his quality because he only serves 10 people a night, or he only serves these dishes. So in that sense, he's focusing on quality.
Yeah.
But he's been doing the same thing for 60 years. So in that sense, he's doing quantity, right? Because he's doing the same thing every day for 60 years. So I think in some sense, so sometimes I'm pointing out that, okay, it's not this or this. The real truth is sometimes it's this and sometimes it's this.
Yeah.
And, you know, okay, I'll give you a really good one. Okay.
That one I don't agree with, but keep going.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll get into it.
So
Somebody had said in our pod comment the other day, it's like, oh, are Americans not allowed to disagree with each other? I'm like, no, we can do whatever we want. So I believe Jira was 1000% all about quality. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about is repetition and not quantity. You're using an interesting term, quantity, to describe a period of time. Mm-hmm. He's focused on doing the very best quality for the longest period of time possible. Whereas people normally associate quantity with, instead of serving 10 clients, the very best, they serve 1,000 clients every single day, which is like some of those sushi boat places where they just pump out stuff and you hit a robot and things come out. Yeah. Those people are not even trained. They like have a machine in the back and it shapes the rice. So I really believe that one is, he is the standard bearer for the ultimate pursuit of perfection. That's very true. Japanese, right? So
yeah, if you want to get technical, yes.
Sometimes I read your post, I'm like, I'm going to get technical with you.
But I think that everything
I still
is
like writing.
You know, like every post that I do, somebody can disagree with me and it'll be true.
Yeah.
Like there's, you know what I mean?
So
like,
you're saying even in that, there's a truth between my truth. Yeah. And it's like not just this, it's hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like sometimes it's just a play on words.
Yes.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but you still get people to say, I never thought of it that way, because that's still true.
Yeah.
Yes. But go into like now this other example you have.
So this other example is, people talk about like niching down, which I believe in. Yes. You like, from my experience in my business, niching down definitely helped. But then there's also people like Gary Vee, so like, you know, you are your niche. You don't need a niche, like you know. And then there's people who talk about being multi-passionate and, you know, all of that, right? Yeah. Which I also agree with.
Yeah.
And this is a well-known concept of like, you know, like the whole T-shape expertise. Yeah. But I'll give an example. And the example that I give is like, if you look at Leonardo da Vinci, he was multidisciplinary. He had multiple passions. But him being a biologist made him better at drawing like human anatomy, like bodies. Him being a chemist gave him ability to come up with colors, skin tone colors, paint that other painters couldn't.
Right.
And then finally, he's known actually the most for being a painter.
Yeah.
So yes, he's really great at multiple things. People are only going to know you for one thing because people like to put you in a box.
Right.
So yes, you can have a lot of talent, but you're still only going to be known for one niche.
Right.
So that's kind of like, I guess, another way I would do it. Like, yes, you are your niche, but at the same time, you know, you still need to put yourself in a box, you know.
Yes.
Like that.
I like this take because you're making a very nuanced argument. I tend to be like, it's black or white, get off the fence, pick one or the other, and let's move on with our lives. You're making a very nuanced thing. And so I'm glad people like you exist in the world, because I'm not for everybody. You're not for everybody, but now they have choices, and this is wonderful, and I applaud you for doing that. My argument to all that stuff is, if you're saying you're one of the most creative minds in the humankind has ever experienced, go ahead, you're Da Vinci. But if you ain't Da Vinci, you ain't Da Vinci, because how many Da Vincis do we know?
Yeah.
Maybe less than 5. In the existence of humanity, we do not know that many people who are good at a lot of different things and can put it together seamlessly. And that's why they will not remember your name, and Da Vinci's name will continue to reverberate throughout the annals of time. And so that's the argument. I'm like, are you Da Vinci? Well, what percentage of you Da Vinci? 10%? 100%? Tell me where. Let's have an honest conversation. And so my general argument is people do more harm to themselves going very broad and never deep into anything. You're talking about the packaging event, what people ultimately know you for, because you cannot overcomplicate things for people. You short circuit their brain. They won't remember you. If they can't remember you, they're not going to hire you. They can't refer you. They can't do anything for you. And part of branding is creating repeatable stories for people so that when you're not in the room, they're selling you for you, right? So I love that you took that approach, because that takes that argument, even if you get people, even if you're Da Vinci, this is how Da Vinci did it, and this is what people see him as, right?
Yeah.
But and I'm just harsh truth. You ain't Da Vinci. I'm sorry. If you were, you wouldn't be watching this. You'd be busy changing the world right now. Quite literally, you have no time to be spending on YouTube or listening to podcasts. I can't imagine you sitting there with the iPods, let's go.
But what I found is a lot of people think they are Da Vinci. That's the thing.
Well, I'm here to tell you you're not. Sun believes in you. He's sunny side up. I'm Chris dark side down. So let's go.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. I think 99% of people are never going to be Da Vinci.
No, you're way more generous than I am.
But the thing is, I think a lot of people think they have the talent. So when I make content, I have to say it as if, okay, yes, you might be that good, but still, this is how you have to do it. Because I think a lot of people just don't know where they are in the level. Like if most designers that I see, there are some designers who are like awesome, but they think they're average.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of designers who I think are not that great, but they actually like overvalue themselves.
Yes, so, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That is like, it's not curse of knowledge, it's a cognitive bias. People who know a lot think they know nothing, and people who know nothing think they know a lot. It's the curse of the ignorant. They think they know more than they do, and it makes them kind of dangerous. Sometimes good, but mostly dangerous sometimes, right? We know a lot of people like that in the media, in very public spaces. I love how you're bringing nuance and looking at things very kind of openly. What I was going to say before was I think you're teaching copywriting, but I think there's a deeper skill that you're sharing with people, which is how to be a critical thinker and how to have a philosophical mindset, because that's what I see you as. One who thinks about his thoughts and is able to write and share with the world so they can have a different point of view. And that's very powerful stuff. It's very hard to do. I don't even think stories are that effective. I love stories. I love to talk about stories and storytelling, but what you're doing is on a different level. It's like you're a philosopher who happens to be using social media in a very accessible, kind of broadcast kind of way that people can get much deeper thinking. Is that what you're teaching in your Domestika course?
Not in my Domestika course, but like hearing you say that, like you just made my day, because that's kind of what I've been seeing in the last year is that when I do this exercise, the storytelling exercise in our community, it more than it being like content thing or like marketing thing, it helps the person who's practicing it more than anything. Like a lot of people say that a lot of the exercise that we do is like therapy. They say like, oh, it makes me learn so much about myself and what I do, what the mistakes that I've been making that I didn't realize, things like that. So yeah, I do think it's like a lot of like critical thinking, personal development thing first, and then like marketing and content second.
We're very much aligned there for sure. Okay, I'm feeling the heat of time. I think this is the beginning of maybe a multi-part conversation. Maybe we'll meet somewhere else in the world and we'll continue this, because I think you've opened doors and I want to pull on more threads with you. I think it's fascinating to be able to have like an intellectual, stimulating, yet sometimes tactical and very practical conversation with someone who is a deep thinker such as yourself. So a couple of things. Number one is if people want to learn more about learning about how you think and how they can gain some of these skills, where do we send them?
I think right now Instagram is the best place. Sun.yi.
Sun.yi. Sunyi. Okay, go there.
And I really appreciate that you said that, because like you asking me these questions is actually because I've been kind of in this place where I'm figuring out like what exactly am I doing? Like it's not storytelling, but so like you asking me this question, having this conversation, it's like really helping me figure out exactly what is it that I'm doing too. But secondly, my website sunyi.co.
Sunyi.co.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all my other information.
.co. Okay. You guys can go to @sun.yi. That's on Instagram, and you can go to sunyi.co to check out the rest of his offerings and how you might be able to get in touch with him. I'm going to ask you this one other really quick question before we get out of here, which is this. Do you have a strong personal brand? Yes or no, and why?
I think so, because the number one comment that I get is I never thought of it that way. And that's kind of what people know me for. And even when I talk to people offline and they start saying something, they'll be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And that kind of became the running joke in our community. So
well, it's one that you very carefully engineered, though, as you told me, well, I never
I
thought of
didn't
it that way,
engineer it.
right? You
I
didn't?
think because I started seeing it first.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
And
They
then,
gave it to you first.
And then I put it as a
I
tagline.
see.
And then now when people catch them, I'll have a conversation with somebody and they'll be like, oh, I never thought. And then they'll catch themselves doing it.
Because you programmed them. Well, that's very good.
Maybe.
I love it. Well, you're speaking my language again, because oftentimes we don't know the gift that we have to share with the world. And it's not until we put our work out there that the world lets us know what is valuable. People often ask me, like, how'd you get that nickname? How'd you get this? It's like, I didn't get it. They gave it to me. They just give it to you. So there's yet another reason for people to get into their head and start to learn how to articulate their thoughts in clear ways that help people look at the world a little bit differently. And you've done a wonderful job. And so they've rewarded you with this wonderful expression. And now that's become linked Sun and this idea of, I've never thought of it that way. So do you have merch?
Not what I never thought of it that way, but
What do you have merch with? Yes, you should. And I'm going to take a royalty from that. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, everybody. Calm down. It's a joke, maybe. All right. So I wish you the best of luck. Perhaps the merch will drop in a couple of months. And you should have that on mugs, caps, t-shirts, stickers, and everything you can, right? So when you're driving around and you see your own messages out there, you're like, there's another one right there. Son, thanks for jumping on the pod.
Thank you for the idea. And thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Hey, I'm Sunny, and you're listening to The Future.
If you've enjoyed this video, I want to remind you about Content Lab, something that I've launched, and it's designed to help coaches, content creators, and authors just like you create content that consistently cuts through the clutter.